Right, so on the 12th of August, that was when I sent this. Well, no, it was before then. About, I think the 12th was a Thursday, and I gave it in on Monday, I think it was, I can't remember now. A few days before the 12th, I gave my Land Rover into a transmission shop to have a new clutch fitted. But what they actually did was a complete bodge up of the whole thing. Now I'm underneath the car now. It's been sat on the driveway for, well, where are we now? So we're actually underneath the car now, having a look around, and there's oil leaks all over the place. So prior to having them do the, or attempt to do the work, there wasn't any actual oil leaks under here. The transfer box was leak free. The only oil leaks that were coming was from the engine, and that was from the turbo. But I'd fixed that previously, so there was a bit of remnant, but I'd done a pretty good job of blocking all the oil leaks up, because it's something that bugged me, so I blocked them up the best I could. So it became apparent that the work that they did do was inferior when they phoned me up on the day that I gave them the car, and they said, oh, it'll be done by the end of the day, and we'll give you a phone call when it's done. It's about an 8-hour job to do a clutch on a Discovery, if you know what you're doing, know what you've got to take apart and everything like that. So they phoned me up, I dropped it off, I was there at 7 o'clock on that morning, and they opened at 8, so I was there before, and so they phoned me up, and it was about 6 o'clock that evening, and he said, well, I've put it together, but it doesn't work. So I said, what do you mean it doesn't work? He said, well, I can't get it to go in any gears. So I said, well, alright, well, it's not really any good then, is it? He wanted me to pick it up. I said, well, it's not really any good. Can you try and find out why it won't go into any gears, blah, blah, blah. So he did. But the trouble was, they wanted to charge me for finding out why it didn't work. But I drove it there fine. There was nothing wrong with it. The only reason I wanted to have another clutch fitted was because the one I had in it, it was getting on a bit. That was fitted in 2009, and we're now in 2018. So, it's fitted in 2009, it had done about 80,000 miles. It was slipping slightly. If you happened to pull away, if you had a heavy load, say it was full of people, and I might have a bit of luggage in the back, or a trailer on the back, and you pull away a little bit sharpish, it would slip a little bit. So I thought, well, I'd get a new clutch put in it, for peace of mind. So it was actually driving fine, there was no trouble with it, and in fact I've got previous videos of it driving fine, because I used this car to make my videos, driving around. And so, when I realised that they were actually going to sort of take it apart again and try and find out what the matter is, but they wanted to charge me for it, I thought, no, they won't, they can't charge me for that, they've made some kind of mistake. But anyway, he phoned me up and he said, oh, I've taken it apart. Well, actually I went there and visited them, and they said it's the thrust bearing that's the problem. So I phoned up the manufacturer of the clutch to get a new bearing. They sent me a new bearing. It's exactly the same bearing. So they put the new bearing in anyway. And when I see that it was in bits, I went there and I looked up, and it was a mess. He'd cable tied the slave cylinder together, which was ridiculous. Why? You don't need to do that. That's a ridiculous thing to do. And it was all hanging down, and wires hanging everywhere, and it was just a mess. And so that was a red flag for me. And he put it back together, and he said he still won't go into any gears. And then he let me take it away. And I've got a video. Well, I'll put a link in the description of this video to that video to show you the day I picked it up. I literally managed to what you have to do is you had to put it into any gear that you wanted to drive in before you started it. Put the clutch all the way down, start it up in that gear, and then drive in that gear. You couldn't really change. You could just about to, but it was no good. It didn't do the gearbox any good trying to change without a clutch. If you lined it up properly, it would change, but it ain't no good for it. And then they let me drive it away like that, which was horrible. And I've got a video showing the mess. But also, they also left the rear prop shaft, which you see there. The bolts holding that together were fingered. They weren't even finger tight. They were just on the end of the bolt. The nuts were on the end of the bolt. It's ridiculous they managed to stay in there with me driving it from there to my home, and then from my home down to the Land Rover approved place where I got them to inspect it afterwards. I have no idea. But also there's bolts missing. Just look at the mess that has occurred. All of this was dry. I don't care what anyone says, Land Rovers always leak. Yeah, they do, but I'd plugged up all the oil leaks from underneath. And so there's actually bolts missing from the gearbox. I don't know if I'm going to be able to get to them. You may be able to see... Yeah, I think you can actually. Can you see one that's missing? Yep, there's one missing. There's some more up there somewhere, but there's one that's missing that was not missing before. There's actually more up there, but also I can't see what this camera's seeing at the moment, but all the rivets that hold no, you can't see, I don't think, but there's rivets up there that hold the centre console kind of thing all together from underneath. Well, they've all been drilled out and not replaced, so you get a lot of noise coming through the middle of the console now, and you get a lot of wind noise when you're driving. It all blows up. There's a draft that comes up from underneath there. They didn't put the exhaust back on either properly. That rattles, that hits and rattles when it's running. You can hear it vibrating. It's rubbing up against the axle and also up against there. So there's a lot of damage. So on the 22nd of hold on, let's put you lot straight. There we go. On the 22nd of October, 22nd of the 10th, I sent them well, no, I did send one before then, a letter. Well, I phoned them up on the 12th and the 13th, on the 14th, after I'd changed the slave cylinder, because I don't think I explained, but the issue with it not going into gear was due to the slave cylinder. Now they damaged that. As I said, it was in cable ties, and that was a new one that I'd put on about 5-6 months prior to this work being done. The lights just run out of battery. Now I said to them, I said, are you sure that the reason it's not going in all the way is because there's no air in the system, you know? And they didn't like me saying that, because often, well, I'm just a customer, and me telling them what to do, they didn't take very kindly to that. But I knew that it would have been air or a fault with either the master or the slave cylinder, because, you know, it's a hydraulic clutch system. There's not much can go wrong. You've got the pedal, which is linked to the master cylinder, which is linked via a line to the slave cylinder, which then just is a piston that pushes the fork, which disengages the clutch. Now he said no, there's no chance of that. We've checked it all, bled it all, everything's all right. It's a problem with the clutch. The clutch is faulty. It's nothing to do with us, the way we fitted it. It's the clutch itself that's faulty. So when I went to pick it up, I just wanted it out of their hands. I didn't trust them anymore. They're complete cowboys. So when I got there and I sat in it, and he's standing next to me, and I said, "Is air in it?" "No, it's not. No, we bled it. There's no air in it." So when I eventually got it home, the first thing I did was bleed it. As you'll see in the videos that are passed, they will be linked in the description to this video. So I bled it, and it got better. It weren't clearing all the way, still isn't clearing all the way now, but it got better. So I thought, right, okay then, there was air in it. Oh, and when I undid the bleed nipple, by the way, the first thing it did was it went tss, there was air in it. So I thought, right, let's try and eliminate all the problems. So I bought brand new master cylinder and a brand new slave cylinder. I fitted the master cylinder first. It was better, but it wasn't right. Then I fitted the slave cylinder, and I showed you in previous videos, those of you that do watch my videos, the whole process of doing this. And the slave cylinder was ruined. The dust seal on the end of it was gone, and the piston had been pulled out. And things with those slave cylinders, once you pull the piston out, it will never ever seal again. You'll never get it to seal again. You've got to buy a new one, or get that one refurbished professionally. Anyway, so I put that new slave cylinder in, and hey presto, we had a working clutch. It still doesn't clear all the way. I know that can be due to crankshaft bearings and all that, you know, pushing the crankshaft, you know, and all that. But it still doesn't clear all the way. But it was fine with the old clutch in. There was no trouble whatsoever. You didn't have to push the clutch in all the way for it to clear. You could drive it normally. But with this one now, you have to push the clutch in all the way to the floor. I've bled it as much as I can, and it's got new slave, new master cylinder, so there's not much else that can go wrong. You have to push it all the way to the floor, and it still doesn't clear. It still grabs, so it's not right. And talking to Essex 4x4, who you know, I trust their opinion a lot more, and from what I do know anyway, and from previous experience and talking on forums and things, you know, if you can fit the gearbox wrong, and it will cause all kinds of issues. So, you know, I partially fixed the problem myself. So I phoned them up as soon as I fixed the problem. I phoned them up and I said, look, you told me that it weren't a problem with the master cylinder, slave cylinder, or air in the system. When I've paid you now £840 to do work that you didn't even do properly. You didn't even do it. And so I'd like to have at least my at least half of that back, please. And because I've had to finish off your work. He said no. So I said, alright, don't want to give me money back. Yeah, I'll take it further. So on the 22nd of October, 22nd to the 10th, I sent them a formal letter stating the Consumer Rights Act 2015, and stating that I'd like, you know, given the evidence, I sent them photographs of the slave cylinders, the prop shaft bolts that were undone that I showed you lot in the video, and the fact that it just doesn't work how it should do, and it's all down to the way they fitted it. And I said what my intentions are, you know, and I will take it a lot further if they don't give me my money back, because the work they done was no good, and plus it was dangerous. The prop shaft bolts undone. Imagine that had come undone driving down say I'm going down a motorway, or even just a 30-40 mile an hour road, or 50 mile an hour road, and prop shaft bolts come out. That prop shaft is going to start flapping around underneath. That's no good. Plus it just doesn't work. They let that car go out of their premises undrivable. Yeah, you had to start it up in gear to drive it. It's ridiculous. You know, apart from the fact that, yeah, alright, I kind of know what to do in those situations, but that's not the point. I'm paying them for a service, and they haven't done it. So this is where we're at the moment. So that's where we're at. That's where we're at now. So I've been keeping a log, and a lot of you have been asking me how's it going with that, and especially now, seeing as my friend set up that GoFundMe. Dear old Alex there. He set up that GoFundMe for me, and a lot of you have been asking how's the Land Rover going, what's going on, because a lot of you, you know, I've always said you got to be very careful of your trust, and I don't give out my trust easily. And now I've given out my trust and someone's gone and betrayed it. It's so difficult. I always say, if you can do your work, do it yourself, but I couldn't do that myself. And a lot of you are saying, you know, how's it going with these cowboys, you know. Well, that's the story now. I think I've covered it all. So, oh, I forgot to tell you the best bit. The best part is I've applied, and I've had some response. I've had a response. I've applied for, well, the third one you can't really count as a national television thing. It's a YouTube channel, and they investigate like rogue traders kind of things. But I applied to the BBC, and because they do some programs on, you know, what they do is they come and talk to you, and you give your side of the story, and they contact the company that you're complaining about or whatever, and if they want to participate, then they get to be on camera on television telling their side of the story and everything, blah blah blah. And it's to try and expose, there was a program called Rogue Traders, there's Cowboy Builders, but obviously this ain't a building firm. But so I've applied to a couple of them, and I've had a response from one. So they're interested in my story. So, you know, if all goes well, I might be on the television telling my story about that, and obviously they'll go over to there, and because there was one with that bloke Matt Allwright, I think his name was, and he sort of went, what they do is they go to these companies and they sort of confront them and ask why they did what they did, and what, you know, what they're going to do about it and all that. So, you know, like I said, I've had one response out of 3, and one of them's a television show as well. So if I'm on television, bloody hell, imagine that, if it gets me on TV, it'd be brilliant, wouldn't it? And I should get my money back out of it and all. But that's only if they don't reply. You know, if this company now, the transmission shop, if they, well, they haven't, they've gone past their 14 days that I gave them. 14 days is plenty of time to send a letter back. What's it today? The 20, oh bloody hell, I think it's the 25th or 26th of November now. So it's gone over a month. 22nd of October I sent them a letter. 14 days is 2 weeks. So it's over a month now since I sent them the initial letter. So yeah, they haven't replied, and they're probably not going to reply. Probably not going to try and give me a solution or anything. So if these television programs come back to me and say that they want to take the story on, and they want to put me in the program about it, then brilliant, I'm going to go for it. And if not, I'm just going to take them to court anyway, because they shouldn't be allowed. It's not all about getting me money back, it's about them. They shouldn't be able and allowed to get away with doing what they've done, because if it weren't me, it could have been someone else, and they could have had an accident. Because on my way home I got stuck in the middle of bloody Sadler's Farm roundabout. It's a big busy roundabout. Yeah, because I couldn't change gear. It wouldn't go into any gear, so I'm stuck there. I knew what to do, obviously. Turn the car off, put it into a gear. I managed to find third, I think it was in the end, and start it up in that gear and go. But it could have been bad, so they shouldn't be allowed to do that. Anyway, so now all you lot are up to speed on it, and if I do get accepted for a television show, I'll tell you which one it is then. And I'll tell you which, I'll find out what I can and can't say, because I don't know, you see, it's a bloody minefield these days of what you can and can't say on these bloody videos. So I'll tell you, if I do get accepted, I'll tell you what one it is, and when I've done the filming for it, and when it's going to be on air, and then you can go and watch me on TV if I get accepted. Probably a very big long shot. I don't think it will, because my story is probably, I don't know, that when they well, the fact that they replied and said they're interested and they put me on a short list, because obviously they probably get thousands of people saying that they've had problems with companies and they just want to be on TV or whatever, so they have to sift through them all to find the good stories to put on their TV show, probably. But they've replied back and they put me on their short list, and they're gonna send me a message, and either an email or I don't know, it'd probably be an email, I would have thought, in the next couple of weeks to tell me whether they accept me for the show. And then obviously they've got to contact the transmission shop and say what's happening and do they want to participate and all that. But yeah, anyway, I'll let you know what one it is and when it is and everything, and you're going to watch me on TV. Oh, brilliant. Anyway, so you're all up to speed on it now. You all know what's going on. So any of you that do want to donate to the GoFundMe that my mate Alex set up for me, to help me just get the car fixed and done, because all this time it's just sitting there doing nothing and I can't drive it. It's a waste. Not only is it a waste, it's just massive inconvenience for me. The whole point of getting something repaired is so that you can bloody drive it. So I don't know. Anyway, that would be brilliant if you do. Yeah, so and someone said, what happens if what happens if the GoFundMe gets donations, which it has got £10 so far. So I think if the GoFundMe gets donations, and then I get my money back from the company. Well, I'll tell you what will happen then. Any money that's donated towards that, and then I get my money back. But any money that's donated to the GoFundMe, what I'll do is I'll spend that on. Well, it depends how much it is. If it reaches the goal, then bloody hell, there'll be a massive giveaway. Trust me, there'll be a huge giveaway. It'll all go back into the channel, and it'll all go back to you lot, every single one of you, if that happens. If donations are made, and then I get my money back. That's what'll happen. It'll all go back into you lot. And obviously, if it doesn't, then I'll spend it on getting my car done. As simple as that. That's what it's for in the first place. But it'll all go to a good cause, no matter what. So thanks for watching, everyone. And yeah, bit of a boring talking video, but like I said, since some of you wanted to. You keep asking me, I thought I'd just address everything in a video and you can all see it. Plus, I know it's a bit rambling on now, a bit long, but it kind of acts as evidence as well. Like, that's the reason I made the video when I first picked the car up. That's why one of the reasons I made the video on showing you that it wouldn't go into gear and the troubles with it. Because it's evidence, isn't it? It's all evidence. You've got to have evidence these days on everything. Because I knew I was going to get them for it. I know I did. It's just not right. Anyway. Lovely job. I'll see you on the next one, friends, and have a brilliant week or brilliant day or whenever you're watching this, and yeah, take care.